And a man who cannot give has only one path available to him: to see, desire, take. The holding pattern of the serpent from the garden. There is a sequence that runs through every single man's story. The eye finds something, desire follows the eye, the hand follows desire, and the fist closes. What is inside that closed fist? It can never be a gift, because a gift requires an open hand to receive it. The man with a closed fist does not know he's holding himself back. You see, he believes that the problem is outside of himself. It can be solved by the next deal, the next come up, the next thing that will finally fill what that last thing could not. But the sequence, it cannot be broken from inside of itself. You see, the hand that reaches forth only tightens. The fist that is closed, it cannot open itself, because the logic of that closed fist is that opening means loss. And the loss is the whole thing that this sequence is built to prevent. So into this pattern steps one man. His name at this point in the narrative is Abram. In the ancient world, three things constituted a man's entire identity: his land, the ground he belonged to, and the inheritance that would outlast him. His kindred, the people whose name and blood told him who he was. His father's house, the line that generated him, the source from which everything he was had been handed down. So you strip a man of these three things, and he does not merely lose possession of those things. He loses the answer to the most fundamental question. And that question is, who am I? And so God says, leave them, all three of those things, and walk toward a land I will show you when you get there. I won't show it to you before, but I will show it to you when you arrive. Lech lecha. This means in Hebrew simply, walk your walk. That land will not be shown in advance, because that map does not exist yet. There is only the word and your decision of whether to move toward what yet cannot be seen. He goes. He takes his wife, his property, and then an interesting detail the text places quietly, really without any commentary: the servants that he made. Not purchased, but made. You see, these are not slaves acquired by transaction. These are people he generated, drawn into his household, and given his name. They are bound to his future as surely as his own blood. And when Abram hears the divine and responds, all of them, his entire house, moves with him. His people, his name, walking forward together into a land none of them have seen. Abram trusting the Father, and them trusting Abram. And what he leaves behind is not what he has built. It was what he was entitled to: the inheritance, the future, the name, the secured land of his fathers. He releases his claim to what was rightfully his and walks toward what he cannot yet see on a promise. And he takes everyone who carries his name with him. On the road, before the promised land has been seen, Abram makes a stop. And the stop is at an oak tree, Moreh. Now, Moreh is the name of the tree, but it has a meaning in Hebrew. The tree is the tree of learning, Moreh. So at the oak tree of learning, Abram has an encounter with God face to face, and God speaks to him saying, "To your offspring, Abram, I will give this land." This is the entrance to the land of promise. The boundary from the desert to the land of abundance. And after this encounter with Adonai himself, Abram continues on. And as he moves, he stops in between two important waypoints. Between Bethel, which in Hebrew means the house of God, and Ai, which means ruins. So between the house of God and the house of ruins, Abram looks out over the promised land. He scans the horizon and he sees a heavy famine. There's no sustenance, nothing for the eye to see or desire, and there's nothing for the hand to reach for. The land God promised is empty. In fact, you know what? It's worse than empty. It's dying before him. So this is the test that every man must move into. Not the perceived abundance, not immediate confirmation of the promise, not the promised land performing as you would have expected. The emptiness, to see what looks to be desolation, to see the famine instead of the promise. So the famine is not the interruption of the promise. The desolation in the promised land, it is the condition in which the man who can hold the promise is being formed. The open hand is not a weakness. It is the only posture in which anything from outside the closed-loop self-referential system can be received. And what cannot be received cannot be carried. And what cannot be carried cannot be given. And a man who cannot give has only one path available to him: to see, desire, take. The holding pattern of the serpent from the garden. Until he has held onto the serpent's worldview long enough that he begins to reflect the very image of the dragon himself. So the way forward has always looked like this: a man who releases what defined him and steps toward what he cannot yet see. His focus will begin to ascend. His hands begin to open. And what he finds waiting on the other side of that crossing is the promise. It's everything.